So all of these questions are geared toward how good the Nuggets are relative to the rest of the West. Everybody wants to know where they stand, both in the regular season and in the title race. But a lot of these are more focused on the regular season because everybody is in the fandom right now is worried from day one. Like, what are they even going to look like out of the gate? And this preseason has done nothing to assuage them of those doubts. I've heard you and Adam Mars talk a lot about how the Nuggets tend to outperform their win totals, those in the betting markets, and you've talked about how they outperform their point differential, so just like points scored minus points allowed. This one doesn't isn't controlled for pace, but think about it as like the net rating. Last year, they actually had a substantially better net rating than the championship year. So last year they were plus 5.4 and the championship year plus 2.3. This is all numbers I'm getting from Dunks and Threes for anybody who wants to look it up. Where do your models have the Nuggets power rated right now? What does that mean for what you think their point differential is going to be? And what was it that you got wrong about them last year? Because you went so far as to suggest that they would win less than 50 games last season.
Yep.
So I want to know, what did you get wrong in your analysis of the team heading into last season?
I made some adjustments on the power rating, which I think is going to make it a little bit more stable this year, and I'm excited for that. I think it's a little bit more accurate. Their clutch time numbers don't really show how good they are in those crunch time situations where they're just like an elite team in closing out games. I think I also gave a little bit too much credence to some of the like their ability to win the like they destroyed the bad teams. Like the Nuggets had so few games where they screwed around and missed one. Like they just dominated.
It was just the Jazz were the only below 500 team that they lost to last year.
No, that's the thing is like I thought so too because like, it doesn't feel like that because I think fans always remember the teams where it's like
when they
you know,
go down 20 to the Hornets and
right
then have to come back.
and then have to come back. But if you look at the end of the season, ESPN's got this. The Denver Nuggets went 28-2 versus teams under 500 last season.
Oh, it was the Jazz, and I blocked out the Spurs game at the end of the season. That was the other one.
Yeah.
PTSD. My bad.
So they're really good in all those areas. I think that there is something ephemeral about their ability to overcome some of their deficiencies and balance it out. Where it's like if they have a really bad transition night, I think they compensate with a really good half court night, and vice versa. Even though transition wasn't a strength last season, but a lot of it, I will honestly just say, is like I don't think they were as good as the record. I still don't. I don't think they were as good as 57 wins. Now, does that mean that my prediction of under 50 was right? No, it was wrong. I should have been like, I should have looked for or given a manual adjustment because this is what a lot of this is like I do give manual adjustment and just been like, Jokic is worth 50. Like Jokic with a decent cast is going to win 50 games, which is where I have them schedule neutral projected at currently based off of where they're at. I have them at 50.5. I'm trying hard to resist the panic on that one. Currently in the Western Conference, I've got the Thunder 1, I've got the Wolves 2, I have the Mavericks 3, I have the Suns 4, and then I have Denver in an effective tie with the Grizzlies and Pelicans for 5th. I do feel confident about them finishing below those top 4. With normal injuries for all those teams, I have them finishing behind OKC, Dallas, Minnesota, and the Suns. Grizzlies is a lot more variable, and Pelicans is extremely variable, and I don't like my number on New Orleans at all.
I have no idea what's going on at the Pelicans.
Here's why. Is that part of like the how I come up with this is judging, all right, who did you lose? Who did you add? Let's take last year's numbers of how you performed, and let's just do a neutral observation of on paper who you got and lost. And the numbers that I use are like, oh yeah, no, DeJounte Murray is really good. He's really good. He's really helpful. Like DeJounte Murray is worth 7 wins according to the numbers, and that's like not as high as it sounds. It's like a pretty reasonable.
No, that sounds like a lot of wins because I know like Jokic is like 17.
Yeah,
was his win shares for last
right.
season.
But the difference is just like there's like a cap on the ceiling, and this is just like, hey, most really good players are in that 7 range, and you could be like DeJounte Murray's not really good. Okay, fair enough. But the numbers I'm working off don't. So like I'm at the point of downgrading.
But they lost Dyson and Najee.
Yeah,
and
but that's the problem is like the numbers I'm using are kind of like, eh. And I actually kind of agree with it. I think the Dyson is one of those guys that NBA Twitter loves, and I love Dyson. How do you not love Dyson? He's great. Like he's so much fun.
He's kind of like Christian with the ball sometimes. So.
And it's just like, how much is he actually going to impact? Like, how much is he actually going to impact the game outcome? Is he going to help? Absolutely. Is he a helpful player? 100%.
Right.
Larry Nance has
2 of
lots of
those guys
injury.
are off the bench,
Yeah,
so
and Larry Nance has lots of injury issues.
Oh,
Like,
right, and Larry Nance that's true. That's a lot. Like, they changed a lot.
yeah, and so, but that's the thing is like Larry Nance was also injured most of the time, and so it's like when you look at the problem with this is like a lot of these numbers I'm also focusing on. Guess what? Zion's a huge positive, not because of his offense, but because of his defense last season. Do I think that continues? Probably not. So like my outcome here is like I think Denver has the definitive edge for the 5th seed. I think 5th is probably where if you were like, okay, regardless of power rating, give me a slot for the Nuggets, I would definitely be like, I think 5 is where they wind up.
Just, like, definite, like, not 5 or higher, just 5.
No higher than 3rd,
Okay.
no lower than 6th.
This is related to, our first mailbag question from Beaston258 or Owen on Twitter, who asks, "What do the Nuggets need to do to reestablish themselves as a top shelf contender?" And I'll just pair that with this question of what is the gap in terms of, like, a player between the Nuggets and OKC? And can a jump, step, leap, a hop, a skip from any of our young guys make up that gap?
No. Now, look, I have maintained a pretty solid position on this, which is I think the Nuggets are likely to underperform in the regular season, and everyone's going to be out on them, and it's going to be a perfect buy low opportunity because I think by the end of the season they're going to be better than they are right now. Let's hope so. But once you get into the postseason, it is about matchups and path and luck. And if Denver is healthy going into the playoffs and they are better than they are now and they get the right series of matchups, they can absolutely win the NBA title because I do know how much of a solve breaker Jokic is. And I know how good Aaron is. And I know how good MPJ is. And I know how good Jamal normally is. And I know how good Malone is. Malone's a really good playoff coach. He just is. And so, like, there's a lot of reasons to think that they'll get in there. I think they can make a run once they get in the tournament. But as an example of this, like, I have them power rated right now. And power rating is, if you're wondering the difference in a rating and a ranking, a ranking is just like, hey, I think they're the 3rd best versus the 4th best. A rating is how much are you favored by versus an average opponent on neutral court. I have the Nuggets 3.5 right now, which is pretty strong. Like, they're a very good team. That puts them on pace for 51 wins. That's pretty good. I have the Oklahoma City Thunder at 8.6. They got to make up 5 points in power rate. Now, by like the end of December, this could be like the Thunder are plus 5.5 because they're not as good as expected, and Denver's plus 4.5. It's only a point. And then you're like, okay, if you can make a major move, you could add this, but you got to have somebody that's going to make an actual 1 point per game difference in your overall power rating, and that's a lot. So for me, it's like there's no way for them to really catch them from where we're at right now. But I do think that this number at 3.5 is based off of where they finished last season and losing KCP. If Christian levels up, let's say Christian is way better, and that's worth a 1.5 to their power rating, and they're at 5.
A
Okay,
1.5. Wow.
it's not remember, but that gets them past Phoenix. They would now be favored past Phoenix. Let's say not even just Christian. Let's say Christian, Julian, and Peyton, that their combined internal improvement gets them, and they're a 1.5 better than I've gotten projected right now. Now they're better than Phoenix. Now they're a top 4 seed. So like there's all these paths to get there. And also this is just a projection. It's not something that I'm like, oh, it's absolutely hard and fast. This is just like based off of the things that I value and how I use these things to project forward. This is where I've got them because I found that I do better having some sort of number to work off of rather than when I was just like, yeah, they're better than this one and that one's better than this one, but also the other one. It's just an attempt to kind of quantify things in a more solid way.
Yeah, I think the Thunder are going to be pretty much impossible for the Nuggets to catch at this point in the regular season. But to your point, it is a matchup game when it comes to the playoffs, so
Right.
There's always a chance. Relatedly, we had a question about the Nuggets and the Thunder from Andrew Boley, who asked how many Nuggets would get playing time if they were on the Thunder.
Okay. I think Jokic would play. I'm pretty sure. Aaron Gordon is probably not playing over Chet because of Chet's shot blocking and floor spacing.
If AG were on the Thunder, they just might not have gotten Hartenstein.
Right. They'd be playing Chet and AG. AG plays for the Thunder 100%. MPJ plays for the Thunder 100%. Jamal plays for the Thunder 100% as a 6 man. Sorry, but like you're just if you have Shea and you
Well, we
have
saw how he and Shea played together with Team Canada, so
Yeah, it'd be
Team
good to
Canada,
separate them.
and I'm sure like Jamal would find that
it's all
insulting.
about winning.
And I'm not trying to insult Jamal there. If you're talking about like the Thunder are going to play the 5 best players in terms of two guards, 2 wings, and a big, then Jamal probably starts. It's probably Shea and Jamal. So got MPJ's on there. So that's the big 4 all play for the Thunder. Why do you need Christian if you have
if
Lou
you have
Dort
all
and
those
Casey
all those
Wallace
other
and Alex
defenders?
Caruso?
Yeah.
Like I'd rather have Casey Wallace than Christian right now. So I don't think Christian gets time. Russ does, because the Thunder love him and will always love him, and he will always have a home there. That organization still has nothing but great things to say about him. They've never said anything, and they've never said anything bad about KD either. They still say great things about KD. But yeah, Russ plays. Saric, no. Saric probably doesn't. You'd probably rather have Jalen Williams. But
I'd love to have big Jalen Williams on this team, by the way.
Yep, would be a good fit. And then Julian doesn't. Again, it's like, would you rather have Peyton Watson or would you rather have like, I know that Aaron Wiggins is going to shoot 42% from 3?
Right.
Yeah, based on the roster makeup. Yeah,
they might have dusted him off for the playoffs, though. I don't know, like Peyton Watson or Usman Jang.
Oh yeah. No, Peyton for sure. Peyton for sure. Like that's one. Just the whole problem is just like the Thunder have like a million Peytons that can all shoot. They're not as athletic as he is, but
they can shoot.
Yeah.
You know what you're gonna get from them.
Yep.
All right, well, we just heard your power ratings, but we had another question from Mile High Aki about the defense of these top Western teams. Where would you rank them defensively?
Minnesota 1, Oklahoma City 2, Denver, Phoenix, and Dallas are all in a tie for me. I'm not trying to cop out. I'm not trying to cop out on the question, but it's like, if you tell me like what level of effort am I getting from Yoke? Am I getting 2023 effort or 2024 effort? If I'm getting 2023 effort from Yoke, then I'll give the Nuggets the edge. Budenholzer's going to do good work with the Suns because his scheme is something they all like. Players love Bud because he's just going to make it simple for them. There's going to be nothing complicated. It's not going to be you're not going to have to overly work. It's a standard NBA scheme that is proven and has a track record and gets them by. And so like their defense will probably be better than expected because Budenholzer is really good about taking parts and making it work. So that Phoenix defense, I think, will be pretty good. Dallas is really interesting because it's like, look, do I think that they got objectively better pieces than last year? Like Najee Marshall is better than Derrick Jones Jr. He just is. Klay Thompson's better than Tim Hardaway Jr., which is the actual comp that you should use and not the flip side of that reverse.
Yes, I agree. Except now Klay is starting.
Yeah, and Clay's going to start for now, and he's going to probably close games for now. But they also
he's going to be playing way more minutes than Tim Hardaway Jr.
They did love playing Tim Hardaway Jr. a lot, though.
Yeah, that's true.
And Quentin Grimes is good too. And am I worried about Luka and like Luka, Kyrie, Clay as a top 3? Am I worried about the defense? 100%. But one of the things that they figured out last year is, hey, if we just have like really great rim protectors, and also as another sign, I asked Malone this question last night, and Rick Carlisle had talked about it too. We're seeing the post All-Star officiating, and that is the dirty secret of the Dallas defense, is that they fouled everyone after All-Star and got away with it.
Not a secret to us.
And so that's going to make up for a lot of this. Is like, yeah, Luka's terrible, but guess what? He just gets the foul now, so it's fine. So yeah, I think
that's better than just letting guys blow by him. My question is, which is he going to do, at least to start the season?
Yeah, and the other thing with Denver is the defensive rebounding concerns, I think, are real. They were not good in those categories last year. It's a concern for Malone now, and the bench is going to be. I'm really worried about their defensive rebounding in the second unit without DJ. I'm just very worried in those minutes without DJ that they're going to be destroyed on the glass.
Well, maybe it'll help when Peyton is playing at small forward.
Maybe it would actually help more if MPJ staggered with the bench.
I agree. I think it should be MPJ and Peyton. I think they could use his spacing as well.
How many games until fans should be concerned about Jamal if they aren't already? And how long until the noise surrounding Jamal gets too loud for him to ignore? Which, I mean, I don't know how much louder the noise could possibly be.
I mean, the answer is, I have to reverse. There's no amount of noise because he's certified. He was a playoff killer who averaged 30 on 50, 40, 90 in the Western Conference Finals, and then had a 30-point triple-double in the Heat versus the Heat. You can't say anything to him. how many guys in the league, and I do this all the time, where I'm like, yeah, he's not a 16 gamer, great player, but you can't win in the playoffs with him. So it's like, if Jamal were to kill in the regular season, it doesn't help him any, because it's like the question would just be like, yeah, but what about last year's playoffs when you completely disappointed? So like, in part, I don't. It's worked for him so far. Like, being a really good, not elite, non-all-star level regular season player who's a killer monster in the playoffs got him 2 max contracts. It's worked. So there's no amount of noise that's ever going to do it. As far as the concern level, does the concern do you any good? Because they're not trading him. They can't trade him.
Yeah.
They can't trade him. You might as well just like settle in and hope for the best. And I'm not saying that he's going to be bad. He might have a career year. Maybe this is the year when he does it. He is the king of turning expectations. It was like, before the bubble run, I texted like a Nuggets media group chat, hot take, I think this is the last playoff run with Jamal because he's going to get traded. And then he dropped 2 50-point performances and they made the conference finals. Like last year, it was like, hey, full off season, won the title, learned all these lessons. Jamal's coming. This is the year. Nope.
Yeah.
So he defies expectation. That's the only thing I can tell you. But there's no reason to. I would tell you that as far as like are you going to feel good about Jamal? Probably not for a while. And I don't know what that means or why. But nothing seems really good right now. And the knee stuff is, all the comments are vague, which is never a good sign. But there's also a very high probability that Jamal Murray drops a 30.9 assist performance on an opening night win versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, to me, that's very much on the table. So
9 assists versus the Thunder. How many turnovers?
Hey, Jamal's turned into a really great playmaker. I actually like him more as a
Yes.
playmaker, pure point guard, than I do as like a high volume scorer at this point.
Yeah, especially in the regular season.
All right, we got one from Magic Kamura. What is one bad team you think will be even worse than expected, and one good team that will be better than expected in each conference?
My worst team for the East is the Hawks. I think they're just not good. Yeah, and losing DeJounte. I know the fit with him, with Trey and DeJounte, wasn't good, but also I just don't think that team is good. I think the Spurs are going to be worse than expected because the West is terrible and there is literally no reason for them to not tank. So I would expect them to maybe be better in terms of their point differential. Like, they're just going to look like a more competent basketball team because they have a point guard in Chris Paul now and someone who will get the ball to Wemby, but I don't think they're going to be incentivized to win more games. Better than expected, I've got the Bucks because they have Giannis. Like, everything went wrong for them last year and they still managed to win 49 games. In the West, I have the Nuggets because I just think they're going to figure it out. I think they just have a really high floor.
You and Swipa should get together and do a show. He's the eternal optimist. All right, so worse in the East, I will say the Washington Wizards. I think that team is broken. And they have like a lot of actual NBA players, and the fact that they're this bad that's even a worse sign. So like, it's hard to be worse than they're expected. That's how bad I think the Wizards are going to be.
Wow.
Better in the East. This one's actually kind of tough for me, given the good team that's supposed to be better. This one's kind of tough because I'm pretty much under across the board on most of them. I will go ahead and say I will say I like that Bucks pick because I like the way that they looked the other night when they had Gary Trent and Taurean Prince in the starting unit. I was like, ooh, this is a lot of length. I like this. But I'm going to take the cop out. The Boston Celtics are only expected to win.
I knew you were going
to. They're going to win like 63, 65.
And you have all those colleagues of yours who are Knicks fans that are down on the Celtics-ish, downish on the Celtics right now.
Yep. So that's my East team. Western Conference, worse than expected. There's actually a number of interesting ones here. I'm going to go with Utah. Tony Jones, I was last night kind of like being convinced that they're going to finish no worse than 7th. And I don't know, man. I know they got a win versus the Kings, who are winless in preseason.
7th in the league.
Yeah, in the league for the draft positioning. Cody Williams, Keyshawn George looks like he made a jump, which is like, that's a very notable thing, is like if he makes a jump now, it's like, okay, you got Markkanen and George, maybe Cody Williams. Okay. And it might just be one of those years where it's like, yeah, the bunch of guys that we don't know, they're pretty good. But I will go the other way and just be like, I think that everything about trading Markkanen was a fake out. They were always going to extend him. It was doing due diligence before the extension. They have no expectations of winning this season, and that they will shut down Markkanen by January and they will tank their faces off and get Cooper Flag to go with George and Markkanen and Cody Williams and be in a really good spot. So I will say the Utah Jazz, worse than expected. And better, I'm going to go with the Phoenix Suns. I kind of resisted because I was like, I don't know if they're going to buy in, but seeing them in person and seeing both of vibes and talking to Budenholzer and seeing some of their numbers across the preseason, they're buying in, man. And if you have that talent and you buy into Mike Budenholzer, you're going to win a ton of games. Mike's a great coach, and they're going to win a ton of games. So I regret to inform Nuggets fans that the Suns are going to be a pain in the ass this season.
Yeah, last question from Big Honey Z.
Zach is not currently enjoying every Nuggets tweet is the name on this account.
Okay.
And Big Honey Z is the handle.
Oh, okay. So he's pretty down on the Nuggets. Everyone wants to play 5-out offense these days. Do you think there's a playable Jokic plus shooters lineup that will get close to that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, the only thing is, like, why would you play 5-out when you have Nikola?
Agreed.
Right.
It's just like, why would you take that off of the table as a menu option? This like perfectly cooked bird of post-ups. Why would you take that off? And so now and also Nikola hasn't hit a 3-pointer in like a long time. It's been good. The 3-point shot's getting a little concerning. I don't necessarily think that there is like a capability of doing that. Like, look, I think if you move MPJ to 4, you sub out Aaron, and Peyton's 3-pointer all of a sudden is like, hey, he's 37%. That gets you pretty close. Murray, Strother, Peyton, MPJ, Yoke.
That was literally my lineup.
Yeah. You can that one spaces extremely well. Jokic is never really so much of him is about maximizing him is about making reads and forcing the defense into a sequence. And a lot of 5-out offense is just like, hey, this is hard to guard. Switching is a very simple solution. 5-out is the counter, very simple solution. That's why it was so popular. It's simple, effective, and easy to understand. It's harder to do stuff around Yoke, but the payoffs I think are greater.
Yeah, it's different. I think shooting is important, but it's not everything in 5-out, which is why I had Peyton in my lineup.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole like read and react part of it, you got to have the right personnel. Not everybody's the Golden State Warriors.
Listeners, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell on YouTube. We're trying to get to 1K subs, so please subscribe if you liked what you heard on today's episode. And also subscribe to our Clip channel. And remember, winning is fun, and hopefully we get a lot of winning in the regular season and not a lot of losing, because losing really sucks.